Hey you guys, welcome back to another movie look back here on Toned It Entertainment. Today we're gonna have a lot of fun. We're gonna go on a wild adventure and we're gonna look for the booty of One-Eyed Willie. Today we're going 35 years back already. Yes, we're gonna look at the Goonies, released in 1985. Now if you haven't already, I gave you a warning last week in my preview to grab yourself some Rocky Road ice cream and some Baby Ruth because you're gonna need it for this wild adventure. And guys, make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video because last year I got to meet some of the cast members of the Goonies and I got some pretty sweet autographs. So I'm going to be showing you those at the end of the video. But until then, let's get on with the adventure. The movie stars Sean Astin as Mikey, Corey Feldman as Mouth, Jeff Cohen as Chunk, Kehu Kwan as Data, John Matuzak as Sloth, Ann Ramsey as Mama Fratelli, Kerry Green as Andy, Martha Plimpton as Steph, and the movie was directed by Richard Donner. Now Mikey and his family have come into some financial hardships and they're about to lose their house, but Mikey, he's not gonna give up. He has one last ditch effort and he takes his buddies here up to the attic to look for what he believes is the treasure of One-Eyed Willie. Now what adventure wouldn't be complete without some bad guys? And here in this movie you've got the Fratellis, a trio which consists of the two Fratelli brothers, one of which is being broken out of prison, and of course who can forget mean mugging Mama Fratelli as well. Now Mikey and the Goonies did find what they think is the treasure map and another piece of the puzzle which they think will help them find One-Eyed Willie's treasure, but older brother Brad is in charge of watching them and making sure that they just don't go out on their own. But maybe Brad here should have stuck with the gym because having this home exercise equipment, he ends up pretty tied up, which allows the Goonies to set out on their adventure. Now Brad was able to untie himself, but as he went for his bike, he saw that the Goonies had let the air out of his bike, so he had to borrow a little girl's tricycle. Now as he makes his way to reach out for his brother and the Goonies, he runs into some acquaintances who, well, stand in his way and really want to see him burn some rubber. Now the Goonies have followed the instructions to a T and they're definitely hot on the track of One-Eyed Willie's treasure. Now they're able to match up the key that Mikey found in the basement to some rocks, which now leads them to an abandoned restaurant, which is, surprise, surprise, been taken over by the Fratellis. Now the Goonies, they're not afraid of any danger and they make their way into the restaurant, but they are greeted by the Fratellis and Mama Fratelli here shows them a whole new meaning of Southern hospitality. Now Mikey's older brother Brad finally does come to the Goonies rescue, but as they lay low outside of the restaurant, they see the Fratellis kind of just taking off and abandoning the restaurant, maybe giving them an opportunity to go search for One-Eyed Willie's treasure. Now Mikey pleads with his brother and he tells him, come on Brad, what if? He tells the rest of the Goonies, come on, this is our chance to find One-Eyed Willie's treasure. This is our only chance. Now Brad finally agrees to go along with them, but they're also joined by the ladies that were in the car earlier that had Brad flying in the air on all 2 wheels or 4 wheels of his little miniature bike, and that's Andy and Steph. So now we've got a full 7 characters looking for One-Eyed Willie's treasure. Now I hope you guys still have some Baby Ruths left because our adventure is just revving up. Now the Goonies have been able to sneak into the restaurant and make their way to continue to look for One-Eyed Willie's treasure, but unfortunately for poor Chunk, he literally gets stuck, left behind. Now the Fratellis are able to capture them and they try to torture him, but they can't take poor Chunk's whining. So they do the only thing that they think they could do, and that's when they stick them in with the adorable, lovable Sloth, who now becomes Chunk's new best friend. Now one of the things that really makes this movie special is when it was released in 1985. There was no cell phones, there was no internet. These kids had to use the map that they had and their own resources and intelligence to keep looking for One-Eyed Willie's treasure. Whether it was like solving puzzles with like a piano or overcoming obstacles, or let's face it, even going down what I think is still the world's coolest water slide ever created. Now, after overcoming all these obstacles, the Goonies finally land their eyes on the legendary One-Eyed Willies boat. Yes, the legend is true. And when they get on board, they're gonna find out that the gold that they've heard of is also true. But of course, the Fratellis are there to cause a little bit of havoc. Now, while I do love this entire movie, this is still my favorite scene in the entire movie, and that's when Sloth and Captain Chunk come to the rescue of the Goonies as he belts out his classic line, "Hey, you guys," as he comes to give a little payback to Mama Fratelli and his brothers for how they've mistreated him. Now, do I recommend watching the Goonies? Heck, that's a silly question. Not only do I recommend watching the Goonies, but I think this is a movie that you should have in your collection, whether it's on DVD or Blu-ray, or whether you've bought it and digitally own it. I think this is a movie you must own, because let's face it, how often have we seen the Goonies actually come on TV or on a streaming service? I can't remember for the longest time. Now, if you do want to just check out the Goonies, it is available to rent on Amazon Prime or YouTube for $3.99. Now, can you believe that the Goonies is 35 years old? I can't believe it, but let me tell you, this movie is just as much fun watching it in 2020 as it was when I was a little kid for the very first time. In fact, I'm ready to go on my own treasure hunt, have myself some Baby Ruths, have some Rocky Road, and let's not forget, wash it down with an ice cold Pepsi as well. Now, in 2019 at MegaCon in Orlando, I got to meet 3 of the cast members from the Goonies: Sean Astin, Corey Feldman, and Ke-Huy Quan. Not only did I get to attend their awesome panel where people asked them if they should make another Goonies movies, and of course they said no, but I got to do a meet and greet with them as well. And before I went, I got the complete set of these Goonies reaction figures. Now, while the actor John Matuzak, who played Sloth, is no longer with us, and Jeff Cohen, who plays Chunk, doesn't really do conventions, I was able to get these 3 reaction Goonies figures autographed by Sean Astin, who played Mikey, Corey Feldman, who played Mouth, and Ke-Huy Quan, who played Data. And let me tell you, not only is it really cool to have these autographed, but these guys were all super nice and super cool. And it really was just an awesome moment getting to meet the stars from one of my favorite movies of all time, The Goonies. Now, we've been having a lot of fun with these retro movie lookbacks. In fact, when I first started the series, I was calling it Guilty Pleasure Movies. But as I started looking at movies I wanted to talk about, not all movies were guilty pleasures, which leads us to next week's movie lookback, Ready to Rumble, based on World Championship Wrestling at that time. And guys, you know this is gonna be a real winner. So guys, make sure you subscribe here to Toned In Entertainment for that movie look back. Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.